right, here we are now with Caroline Wesley Siler, Director of Athletic Training Services and Athletics. And unfortunately, it's a really interesting start to the interview today because you are, of course, joining us via Google Meet, and you are in the same building that I'm in, but we're not in the same room. That's just the world that we live in currently. But other than that, how are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, we're adapting and evolving with everything that keeps coming out, all the new information and all that. But yeah, we are good. Our staff we're in motion. We're really excited to see everybody. So,
well, of course, that's where we're going to start. I'm really curious, and I know a lot of people are curious to know more about the progress and the process of how things are going to work for our student athletes now that they're on campus. And maybe you can even touch a little bit on those that aren't student athletes, but primarily, of course, we want to talk about what it's going to be like for a student athlete back on campus. What will their daily routine kind of look like when it comes to scanning, temperature checks, all those things? Can you elaborate more on that process?
Yes, absolutely. So the couple foundational principles that the campus itself has are obviously the mask wear, a self-check in the morning, and then physical distancing. So those are, and washing your hands. We cannot forget about that one. That's one that people tend to not talk about as much. We can't see that we can see people wearing a mask or not, but you never know otherwise. So that's an important part of it as well, is just that good hygiene, those practices there. But in terms of your daily routine, what you're going to be asked to do as a student, and the same for us actually as staff and faculty, is to use the Live Safe app to get started. We're working on something else for athletics and for you all as athletes maybe, but to use that Live Safe app in the morning, take your temperature, and then any symptoms you have or contact that you have had with people that may have had COVID, we want that to be documented in that app. And then what that will do is help you connect with health services if there's a question or an issue or you're concerned that you might have. So from there, if you get a green light from the app, then you are all set to go to class. And certain locations around campus, Turner and Wake for sure, have like a facial recognition kind of forehead scanner that you'll stand in front of. It takes 1 second to do, and it gives you a temperature reading there as well. So those are kind of two of the technology pieces that we have. And then really throughout the rest of the day, it's the distancing and the mask wear as often and always when you can.
Related to the temperature screening, you mentioned, of course, that there are in our buildings and athletics and also around campus, there are those face scan temperature checks. Will they have access to anything other than that in terms of if they have to do it when they get up in the morning, or they feel like they don't want to walk to a building just to scan themselves and get their temperature? Do they have other means of getting that done?
They do. So when you move back into campus, actually, there have been a whole group of people, and that's the Social Hornets movement that y'all have probably seen on social media, that we have, I think it's 10,000 masks that were made by members of our community and alumni, current faculty and staff. And you will receive actually a welcome bag with a thermometer and a mask and hand sanitizer and a few other little things in there as well. So you'll have access to everything that you need to follow our guidelines, right when you get back.
Now, those that are fortunate enough to be in our meetings know that our staff meetings are really dominated by, of course, John Waters and what he's saying, but also in the last few months, yourself and Ed Smith. And for obvious reasons, we talk a lot about games and will there be practices, but we don't often mention areas where our athletes are a lot, and that would be strength and conditioning areas, sports medicine areas. So for you and your fellow athletic trainers, what is the process for if someone needs to see you? How is it looking in the clinic, and what are the processes that they have to be aware of? They can't just walk down the hall and walk in like normal, can they? Or what's the process for that?
Right. We wish that you could, but the process is different as it is in a lot of places. So we are going to move to appointments only, which we are very heavy appointment based right now, but we're gonna have to be more strict with that based on the number of the room capacity. We cannot have 40 people in here like we normally, or maybe we used to. So we are going to roll out the specific steps for that at our team meetings that we'll have over the next couple of weeks, and we'll walk each team through how that works. But it's going to be really, really easy. And again, we already make appointments with all of our athletes for rehab anyway, if it's a longer type of treatment situation. But the walk-in stuff or the little things, we're going to have appointments for that as well. But that'll be really easy. We'll have a check-in desk as well in the hallway before you come down the hallway to us to confirm that you have an appointment and that you've done your health verification tool that day. So a few other checkpoints. We've spaced things out in here. Just like the desks in your classrooms our tables are spaced out. We've moved equipment around like we do every summer, trying to find the best fit for our space, and just all those different types of things. And obviously we'll be requiring athletes and our staff to have on their masks when they're here for treatment or for rehab to keep everyone safe as best we can.
So the one area that people would like to avoid the most are positive tests, are symptoms related to this virus. What if a student or student athlete does not get the green check mark? They do not get cleared in a certain area related to how they are feeling, or maybe their temperature that day. What is the process that they have to go through at that point?
Sure. The process, from what I understand it, is that they will be contacted by a staff member from the health center and just discussing those questions as a follow-up. So if you do not get the green light, you'll get a red X, I suppose is what it looks like. But you'll get that, and then that means you should stay put, and other information is kind of to follow. So in terms of the timing of that, my understanding is that it should be pretty quick. But I know that that's a process that the health center staff is going to work through with athletes. So that's even before they get to us. I know a lot of times our athletes like to come in here when they're sick and kind of talk through things with us, and can I practice, can I not, and do those sorts of things. But really, in the time we're in right now, everything has to funnel through that health center first. And just because you do answer a question a certain way does not automatically, this is really important, does not automatically put you into this category of quarantine. And you don't instantly answer a question a certain way and get plucked into a certain category. There's follow-up and questions asked, and maybe there's a lot of reasons people can have fevers. There's a lot of reasons for a lot of things, and the health center will help you work through whatever those are. I think that's really important to know, is that it's not just a kind of knee-jerk reaction to whatever your answers are. It's a pause and a thought and a contact with a healthcare professional, and that's what the faculty and staff are going to be asked to do as well. We're just going to call our own physician or something like that, and whoever that we normally work with, MedExpress or whatever that might be, work through that.
You mentioned the Student Health Center a lot in that last response, and obviously they're going to be a very crucial part of our returning to campus and staying on campus. Can you kind of sum up why it's really important for our athletes to take their number down, put it in their phone, have them on speed dial, if you will? Obviously, they typically would come to you all first, as you mentioned. They're very comfortable with dealing with their athletic trainers, but why is it really important for them to care so much about the Student Health Center, know how to contact them, and really use them as the avenue related to virus-related incidences?
Yeah, that's a great question. They are the contact with the Virginia Department of Health, and they have Lisa Geyer, who's the director of the health center, and her staff. I mean, they have worked incredibly hard over the summer. Brittany Smith and I were on a task force early in the summer regarding public health practices and those sorts of things for the campus, with Lisa and other folks on campus that are healthcare providers. And they are up to the minute with the guidance from VDH, which is Virginia Department of Health, the CDC, all those bodies of people and scientists and physicians that are making those decisions. So really, that's why. And using the information that they get, they can look for trends among reporting of symptoms or other different things. That all the information just needs to be in one central hub. And not to say that we as your AT won't be involved in your care and helping and checking on you and doing all those sorts of things to follow up. But everything has to start there in terms of your symptoms and how you're feeling for right now.
So to kind of wrap this up or encapsulate this from your point of view, your personal point of view, how have you, or what have you used to stay highly educated on all of this? Because this isn't something that ATs or strength and conditioning coaches are really thinking about, when it comes to working with their athletes and helping them get on the field and stay healthy. So what has it been like for you during these past 6 months or so, during the summer? Who have you maybe talked to or asked questions of to help you feel confident, so that those around you feel confident and we know that this process is going to work?
Yeah, it is. You're right in saying that it is. There's so much information out there and so many opinions on all of this. It is, what we're trying to do is take all that information and apply it to where we are right here and make the best decision that we can for our campus. Being here in Virginia, it's very different than where a lot of our students are coming from in terms of expectations and, caseload of people, of confirmed cases and those sorts of things. So, but I have really, honestly, Lisa and the health center, that's been a huge part of how we've made some decisions, and as well as our team physician, Dr. Hopwright, who many of our athletes are familiar with. He is also the team physician for Liberty. So he is very much involved all summer with them in terms of making some of these decisions and policies and things over there in a little bit faster timeline than maybe what we needed here. So yeah, those are two people that I've really leaned on heavily to make decisions. And, obviously the CDC and the NCAA guidance has shaped all of what we're doing in terms of practice timelines, activity timelines, workout group sizes, all those things that are specific to what our athletes want to do every day and what we want them to do. We want y'all to be here, and we want you to be working out and doing what you want to do with your teams and your coaches.
You obviously are around student athletes and staff members all the time. Why do you think that this can work? Why do you think that this process that's been put in place, that everything that we're meeting about almost daily as an athletic department, what makes you believe that it will work when we first start out, and that we can still keep this going even once we get into September, October, November?
Yeah, that's another great question, Joe. Look at this.
Well, it's part of the gig for me.
Yeah,
so.
From what I saw this summer with only a small group of our athletic training students, the way that they came into the building and, everybody followed everything that we asked of them, and they didn't complain, they didn't blow it off, they didn't, everybody took everything very seriously, and, coming in the building, wiping your desk down, cleaning up after yourself, cleaning off, surfaces and that kind of thing to look out for the next person that's coming in behind you. And I think we always talk about being a community and a family here at Lynchburg, and it's a different perspective. And, we all know our actions affect others, but especially now. And from what I've seen over the summer and from what I know our coaches have done and interacting with our athletes, and what John and I and others have, different committees and things we've been on, the amount of thought and, science behind it's not just opinion, the science and following the best practices that are in place from a policy standpoint, I think it's awesome. I think we're in a really good place from that point. The question now is, how are folks going to act, and how are we going to act when we're in class and in those spaces, and then when we're not on the weekends and at night, and when you're in Wake Fieldhouse and maybe nobody's watching you, are you doing what we know is the best, what we know is the best case to try to keep everybody safe? So, but I have a lot of confidence in those things and in our athletes and our students and staff to take care of each other.
Well, Caroline, thanks so much again for joining us on the podcast, and look forward to talking to you some other time about how it's been successful and it's working.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks, Joe.